Generally speaking, you want to put your attention on the club rather than the body. Generally speaking, you'll find that the human being is amazingly gifted with tools and objects and working with those things. So there's literally endless amount of things that the human mind can do with tools and objects. Take just a few simple things. A broom. If you had to sweep out cobwebs from the corner or dust things down or use it as a paintbrush, you'd do so easily and effortlessly. You'd just naturally adjust. There'd be a flow to the motion. A hockey stick. Now, I've certainly never played hockey. You maybe could guess that, but how easily at a slow pace without someone skating into you could most people adjust the stick and move a tennis ball, say, in some different directions? How about a mallet? This one's a long one like a golf club. You could hammer nails here. You could hammer nails against the wall. You could hammer nails up high. Big adjustments, and they'd all be done with minimal effort, no awkward feeling. Now, certainly take the hammer, for example. It takes time to build real skill. Could I hit a nail as accurately and as consistently as someone that's been doing it for years? Absolutely not. So there is practice involved, but there is a naturalness that you should never get away from when you're using a golf club, just like other tools and objects. So as I've said, listen, you can't tell someone, remember when I reached down to pick up the cup at the beginning of the first video, you can't tell someone exactly how to move or how to reach over their head and scratch the top of that ear. So why are coaches telling people exactly how to move their bodies and hoping when they do that, it'll result in some kind of mastery over this golf club? That isn't really the way, generally speaking, to get mastery over the club. Listen, when someone tells you put your elbow here and do that with your knee and put 20% of your weight there, gets you thinking consciously and all that, that is not likely to result in a good fluid swing and a sense of where the club is. Now, certainly at times it is appropriate for a coach to work on body motion, no question about that. But what would be a better path when you're doing that? Give the student feedback, give them drills, and as they learn to, or as they work into the right sort of positions, see what they feel. Get them to decide how that feels to them. Then you're on the more productive track. So regards tools and objects we might use, in this case, of course, a golf club because we're playing golf, I find that many students, and this is often the case with people that have played 2 decades and are fairly decent players, are not as clear as you'd think about how the club's designed, what it's supposed to be doing. And of course, that's a big handicap. If you don't know exactly what you're trying to do with the club, which is the job of the coach to make sure that's clear and not just to assume, you will struggle. Let's have a look at a few different examples of that. So how about the downward hit? This is something there's a lot of misunderstanding about. If we look at Tiger coming in there to hit the ball, and let's just put a little dot there where his handle is, and let's go a few more frames here. We'll put another one up there. You'll notice his golf club is actually, in total, is rising as he hits the ball. Well, how can that be? How can he do that and still get a downward hit? Well, if you look at impact there, you'll notice the shaft is leaning forward, and anytime the shaft is leaning forward, there is some element of downward hit in it. But he'd have too much if he didn't have some rise of the club shaft. So the answer is the club is not swinging down at impact, it's leaning forward. Let's have a look at a couple more. Let's say here's me in the teaching center hitting a little weak slice. I promise you it was on purpose. So over the top we come. That club face, I'm telling you, is not that open, but it is open. Look what a difference there is between swing path and where the ball starts. Most people greatly underestimate the amount of difference it makes as to where the club face is aimed. It trumps where the club is swinging by about 2 to 1. You need to know that stuff to be able to read your shots. Let's have a look at one more. How about Fred Couples, golfer extraordinaire? Now, a lot of people don't realize, watch the amazing lag and the snap of the club through the shot, but a lot of people don't realize that as he or any great player gets near the ball, that means their hips, trunk, and arms actually decelerate. Watch his hips kind of freeze there. His chest, look at the stripes on his chest slow down, and as he slows down, he's able to transfer energy away from him out to the club. So in order to crack the club like a whip, the golfer has to decelerate. There's many of these kinds of things that are frequently misunderstood by the average player. Now, most golfers, I find, aren't that savvy. They're not that skilled in knowing where on the face they may have made contact. We all love a solid shot. That's great stuff. Mishits, though, even a small degree, will really affect your outcome. You have to have pretty solid hit if you're going to shoot low scores. But again, if your mind's not getting that accurate feedback, if it doesn't know where on the club it's hitting it, just hard to make any kind of subconscious adjustments, hard to make progress. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you had a coach that perhaps for a while just hung in there with you, and for a little while, instead of telling you how to swing or what you did wrong and all that, just helped you develop more sense of that by telling you where on the face you hit? It'll make a big difference. Now, this is an area that's easy to self-coach. Get yourself a can of chalk spray or foot spray if you like, or something like that. They also make face decals that you can stick on your club, and just hit some shots. And before you look at it, take an estimate: where on the club did I hit it? Look down. You start to get good at it, and it will really help you. You know, most golfers, I watch them all day, they just don't have the patience for that. All they're doing is just wailing away at full speed. If they hit a good one or a solid one, they kind of have a little rah-rah session. That's great and it's fun and all that. They're looking for some magic, gigantic breakthrough formula. They're not really investing in the time to gain skill. Don't be like that. Okay, so generally put your attention on the club. Generally speaking, and not all kinds of verbal cues with your body, hoping somehow that gives you a great shot pattern. Next thing, make sure you understand the concepts, the way the club's designed, what it's supposed to be doing. It's not that complicated, it's just a stick with loft, but you do need to know those things. Many golfers don't. And finally, if you're hoping to become a really good golfer and improve your skills to a high degree, you're going to need to become savvy about where you hit the ball on the club face. We've shown you how you can get feedback with that, and have a good sense of relationship of swing path to club face and how that affects shots. That will allow you to have clear feedback on your outcomes so that you can make those subtle adjustments going forward.